This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
And welcoming you to another weekend, another episode of the Retirement Solution with Jon Hicks here on the radio. Every weekend, I'm Heather Branch here with Jon to discuss the many things that you're likely thinking about. Maybe you're having conversations with your friends, your family about when it comes to your financial circumstance. A lot of us feeling strained from the grocery stores, strained from gas prices being what they are now, strained from...
No kidding.
It's just brain strained of just trying to figure out how to do better by ourselves. It's like
the truth.
My head hurts. It's pollen season. My nose hurts. I'm middle-aged. My back hurts.
All the stuff. All the stuff. It's just how it goes. It's, as we age, we're told, wait, tomorrow's going to be a better day. I think that tomorrow can always be a better day, but it should be more about carpe diem, seize today. Valid. Because there's a great chance that tomorrow won't be as good, or our knees won't feel as good, or our ankles, or our pollen count, or ragweed, or whatever it is making my voice do all this, right?
Well,
it's just what it is.
Fortunately, with the help of you and your team at J. Hagan Capital, hopefully, we can at least know that financially, we've got better days, we've got better opportunities, we've got at least opportunities generally speaking. And that's actually where I wanted to start the conversation with you today, because, again, a lot of us are feeling a lot of concerns over just the headlines, just the muckery that seems to be the economy these last few weeks and months. And, of course, recently now, the shock of oil, thanks to the war in Iran. It's estimated that sustained oil prices above $100 a barrel will add nearly 1 percentage point to headline inflation. So recently, portfolio manager Jason Katz was on Fox Business, and this is what he was saying about some of the things that are going on.
What's not complex is that stocks go up when oil goes down and vice versa. The patient, the U.S. economy, is in very good shape to fight the disease of oil. Economy are growing above trend, unemployment below 4.5%, earnings likely to grow 12 to 15%. So investors have to distinguish between these front page risks and bottom line results.
You know the thing, I think we've talked about this before. Mr. Rogers, the lesson he said he learned from his mom when there was a situation of crisis, his mom said, look for the helpers. I feel like that's the energy Jason Katz is giving there. It's like, despite these things, there are opportunity. That's what we need to be looking at.
Always. And if you kind of look at it, the exact same symbol in Chinese that stands for crisis is the exact same symbol that stands for opportunity. That's just how it goes, right? And I think that's probably one of the biggest things to understand about right now. So I've read a lot of stuff recently, about oil prices and what that means for inflation, what that means for consumer spending, what happens if and Jason said that, the U.S. economy is in really good shape. Yeah. I might say that it's in pretty good shape. Okay. I don't think that I would say it's in super great shape. There's a lot of stuff that's happening. And again, who knows? But my guess is we're closer to the tail end or maybe a little bit of a leg left on this 12-year bull market. It won't last forever. It never does. And that's the whole thing. There's just going to be a different turning tide. So the one thing that I want to say today, because there's nothing that any of us can do about oil prices. There's nothing any of us can do about how many trucks it takes to get those products onto shelves for us to buy and what that cost is going to be.
Yeah.
But the thing to understand is volatility is truly not the enemy. Now, what it really boils down to, especially when we're thinking about, retirement and one day taking all of those things that we've saved and have it give us an income to live in retirement, let our money actually work for us. The thing of it is that volatility is not the enemy. A portfolio that has no plan for volatility, that is the enemy.
Okay.
That is the main thing. That is the most important part, because I see that this conflict in the Middle East could last a lot longer than the president suggests and that a lot of other experts are saying, mainly because there's a lot of other influences now, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, other people are getting involved because, frankly, once Israel and the United States dropped some bombs, all of a sudden Iran started firing at all of our allies in the whole region. That's kind of a problem. And some of them are kind of fed up about it. So the main thing to understand is there's going to be a lot of volatility, but what can we do about it?
Right.
So every time there's an economic shock like this, that typically will misprice another part of the economy. This is really big. And so it kind of reminds me. So there was a story I remember forever ago about the Mississippi flood of 1993. Do you remember anything about this?
I mean, I was
right.
You were not that old then. I was
That's
like, what,
a
13-year-old girl? What did I know about Mississippi floods? Anyways, please continue.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that now, 1993 was not really that long ago. I mean, it was in our lifetimes. Yeah. And the craziest thing is that this was one of the most devastating floods that ever happened. It was actually called the Great Flood of 1993, and it was the most destructive river flood in modern American history. Here's the craziest thing. Over 50,000 houses were completely destroyed or so severely damaged that people couldn't live in it. And there were towns underwater, Heather.
Yeah.
And see, here in 1993, we've already kind of forgotten about this. But here's the thing. So in this unbelievable crisis, the amazing thing happens. All of these little middle America hardware stores that had barely been limping along. They just were almost making no money. The Walmarts had come in, the big box stores had come in, and these guys were all dying. But what happened during that crisis is that everyone needed everything. They needed sump pumps, generator fuel, sandbags, waterproofing materials, plywood, sheathing, all these types of things. And all of a sudden, that little gleam of light, when everything else is falling apart, was an unbelievable opportunity. The demand was so overwhelming that suppliers couldn't keep up. The stores that had just barely been getting by were making more profits than they ever had. Now, here's the amazing thing. One of the issues that we see all the time is that, oh my gosh, this headline's so bad. There's almost always something on the alternative to that, right? For every crisis, there's usually an opportunity. And the amazing thing is it's not callous. It's really an observation. It's an economic reality that repeats itself with consistency. Right. When there is disruption out there in the world, it creates value in other places. So whenever I hear someone say, oh my gosh, John, what's oil going to do? It's going to cause problems for airlines. It's going to cause problems for all these trucking companies. It's going to cause inflation. Consumer discretionary spending is going to be a problem, blah, 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 blah. But at the exact same time, it becomes an unbelievably windfall for energy producers, oil and gas companies, pipeline infrastructure, commodities. They all get really good. And the question is, if we're so focusing on the headlines, what is going to actually be doing great, but we're too busy panicking to figure out how to take advantage of the opportunity? This is a great opportunity to just say, this is why we want diversified portfolios, right?
Let me jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Just reminding you that as you're listening, if you've got questions about these things that John is talking about, give us a call. Let's set some time on the calendar. 502-317-0840. You can also go to retirementsolutionradio.com, or it's 502-317-0840. All right, please continue. You were saying.
No. I mean, so when you kind of pull it back down, what Jason Katz was saying about front page risks, I mean, it's real. But the thing of it is, front pages have a really short memory. Yeah. Because whatever happens on the front page one day, the very next day, it could completely change.
What's that whole thing? It's going to be lining the bird cages the next day. Yesterday's news is lining today's bird cages. That kind of
thing. It's true. It's true. Yeah. I mean, you can almost think about, when it comes down to like celebrityism, right? It's like Britney Spears, greatest thing ever. And then not that much time is like Britney Spears, danger to society, or whatever nonsense they do. But headlines change all the time. And the thing of it is, when you look at it, those oil shocks of the 1970s, the people that came out the richest on the other side were not the ones that panicked. Right. They're the ones that seized the opportunity. It's just true. So the question is, when you're reading these headlines, what I want everyone to think about is, who's benefiting from this? Who? It doesn't mean that we invest in that, but it's a good opportunity for us to say, hold on, I've got some gold in my portfolio. I've got some silver. I've got some commodities. I've got some things that, even though the headlines look bad, I've got some things that have a negative correlation, or they're positively correlated to chaos. Happens all the time. So those are one of the things we always want to talk about, because disruption, whenever it happens, when those headlines are bad, it does not destroy everything, altogether. It doesn't destroy everything. Every shock, it reshuffles the deck. So the question is, when these things happen, if we now see, oh, wow, these oil prices might cause the Fed to not be able to reduce interest rates. Ooh, that means that I may not be able to refinance, or I may not be able to get that lake house and pull out the money at the same price I thought. It just gives you an opportunity to think. Almost never act, but simply think. So volatility is one of the greatest things in the world for creating wealth. If you look at the most unbelievable fortunes over time, they've typically come from volatility. The one thing that we all have to do, especially when we're thinking about, 3 to 5 years before retirement, is just not to gamble too much. Don't speculate too much. Understand the opportunity, but be guarded about how much risk you take. And it was one of the things that one of the advisors in my office, Michael, was talking about a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I just said, hey, what is one of those things that resonates with you that, you almost always end up telling clients about or remembering or talking about? And he said there was a Warren Buffett line. And it was really simple. It was talking about people that had already saved a ton of money. He said, you should never risk what you can't afford to lose to get something you may not even need in the first place. So if someone says, I got $1 million, but I really want 2 million, I really want 3 million. But if $1 million and you can already win and retire when you want, maybe even tomorrow, why would you risk it?
Right.
So same thing here. Make sure we understand, don't risk more than we can, but opportunity through volatility is where people do great.
If you're 5 to 10 years from retirement and have saved at least $500,000, that's where you're really going to see the power of the kind of planning Jon and his team do at J. Hagan Capital take effect. And they're ready to show you what they can do for you as well. 502-317-0840. Let's get to work helping you understand the opportunities despite the headlines. You can also go to retirementsolutionradio.com or it's 502-317-0840. How you spend the first year in retirement can, in fact, set the tone for the rest of it. No pressure first year. Just saying.
Not at all. No. It's totally fine. It's totally great. It's like making it to the to March Madness. And you have one of those play-in games, right? Unfortunately, that game is the one that matters. You don't go any further if you get that one wrong. It's kind of like that first year in retirement, right? It's like if you screw this one up, no big deal. You're just not invited to dance anymore.
Well, in retirement, it's a much bigger deal. I feel it's a much bigger deal for us to screw it up in our first year than it is to miss out on a basketball game in March Madness. How dare I say it? But do you hear that? That's Sacrilege. The basketball fans on the internet. They're coming for me, Jon.
They are. They're all after you. They're banging on the door right now. Do you hear them? I hear them.
I'll say it loud and proud. My name is Heather Branch, and we're here to talk how to do better with your money. Leave basketball for another YouTube channel. This is Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital. And we're going to talk about this article that's posted up on Kiplinger.com talking about, as I just said, how you approach your first year of retirement can set the tone. They say will set the tone for your entire retirement. So all the years after. Basically, we got different kinds of people. We got the one group who they see the freedom. They sniff the freedom. Sure. They see the savings and they get excited and they start spending too much. And then this is the one that really breaks my heart. The people that have worked so hard, they finally get to retirement. They're so afraid of the life that they have earned and deserved that they don't spend anything and they end up just sitting there, sitting on their savings. The expression you always talk about, being the richest person in the graveyard, is what you help people avoid.
Absolutely.
So it's said that it takes about 2 years for us to find our happy place in the beginning of retirement. Of course, nobody wants to hear the word budget. It might as well be a 4-letter word when it comes to spending. But when it comes to savings, so maybe we change the vernacular, Jon. Rather than saying budget, we start talking spending plans.
Well, that's it. That's it. And you hit a lot there. So let's kind of unpack some of that. This is kind of the biggest deal, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that this article was talking about is like, hey, when we get ready to retire, we've done all this saving, and we want to get to the point to where we can punch that time clock the last time and then have all that savings that we've done give us an income, right?
Yeah.
The amazing thing is no matter how much we prep for this, it's kind of like thinking and mentally training yourself. Yeah. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to do it. 26.2 miles, 26.4, 26. It's a lot of miles. And by the way, I've never run a marathon. More miles than I've ever run in my whole life. Because I can't even get my head around that. But you can talk to the people all day, every day, who mentally they're trying to get ready for it. But if they have never put a foot on that asphalt when the shooting gun goes off, it's the first time they've been in a marathon. Here's the thing. They make dumb decisions because they've never been in that situation, no matter how much they were prepared. So the way that I think about retirement is kind of like that marathon. We're getting ready for it. We have all these feelings. Are we hydrated? Did we eat the right food? Do we have the right type of garments on? Do we have the headphones that clear it all out? Do we have everything? But then when we get in that race, things shuffle. And amazingly enough, no matter how great that people train and no matter how many times they've done it, some people start off a little too hot out of the gate in those marathons. And what happens is they get burned up a little too quickly and then they realize, oh my gosh, they hit a wall. This is exactly what they're talking about in this article, where people, they spend a little bit too much in the beginning of retirement because here's the thing, their whole lives have been putting money away. And as they've been putting that money away, the market grows and they keep doing additions. So even if they did pull a little bit out, often the market, growing and then putting more money in shows that recovery time. When we're retired and no longer we feeding the beast, we're not putting that money in and we go a little too fast, burn a little bit too much, it causes us to unfortunately make really bad decisions. And it happens all the time. I had a lady that I had, been a client for a long period of time, and she had finally got to that point of retirement. And she was like, John, I know for a fact I can live off of $50,000 a year. I know I can. I think it'll be great. And we had done all the math and it would have been fine. Except for that first year, she realized, oh my gosh, I'm in my condo all the time now. I can't tolerate this kitchen the way it is. I don't want to be in here. I need to redo this. And so even though we had prepared for that $50,000 of income, she decided she needed about a $29,000 kitchen remodel. Well, that would have been fine too had we prepared for that. But unfortunately, she got involved. She got a contract. She got a contractor in, and that $29,000 kitchen remodel ended up costing her almost $51,000.
I was going to say, renovations, you better double your budget.
Exactly. And the thing of it is did she have to do that kitchen remodel? No. But it's something that she wanted to do. The problem was in the first year of retirement, we doubled the amount of money that we thought we were going to suck out. And unfortunately, unless we had done some changing, it could have exhausted her money in the back end. If she lived to be, 85 or 86 or 87 or longer, it could have been a problem had we made some changes. So that's an example of starting out too hot, right? We just went a little too fast and then we have to course correct. Now, the other side, though, is equally as devastating for a different reason, because this is what basically happened to my parents. They saved and saved and saved and saved. And they got to the point to where they were worried if they were going to make it. But then my dad had a stroke and my mom had to start pulling out a lot of money to do in-home care for him because she couldn't take care of him all by herself. And then pulling that money out, she was paralyzed on utilizing any of the retirement money for things that would have been enjoyable. She basically only spent the money on the things that would have, that took care of my father. And then when he passed away, she has still maintained that idea. She was so freaked out that they weren't going to have any money. She basically is just growing this wealth, and not utilizing it. She's not traveling. And that's the other side of it, right? So the two things that can happen if we don't have the right type of spending plan is that we either spend too much and then we could actually run out of money, or we spend so little that our bank accounts just keep growing, but we're not enjoying the quality of life that we could, or doing the giving, or the charitable inclinations, or all that. And both of those, believe it or not, are problems. Because they create inefficiencies. We're either spent too much money and we could potentially run out. That's terrible. Or number two, we're not utilizing the money and it could really be used by people maybe even we love or good people that we care about, and we're not giving it to them and we're not utilizing it either. It basically makes those assets kind of like dead assets. So both of those are real issues that we actually need to think about. And this is why a spending plan is so important.
All right. So we got the version A, the version B. We got to find the Goldilocks, the happy medium, the in-between. How do you help folks? Because as I said, budget might as well be a 4-letter word. People don't want to hear it. It's like saying diet. You got to go on a diet. You got to have a budget. So changing our thought process to approach it in a sense of, don't think about it as a budget plan. Think about it as a spending plan. How to confidently spend your money in retirement so that you can do the things you want to do, but you're not worried about running out of money. How do you help folks figure that out?
Yeah, the biggest issue is really just a mindset. So people don't like the word budget because it sounds like it's a restriction. It sounds terrible. It sounds like that's not good. Why do I want to have a whole bunch of restrictions? And so most of us, me included, when I hear, here's blah, 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 and here's the budget, my eyes just kind of glaze over. I'm just not paying attention. I'm like, that doesn't sound like fun. So spending plan is different. It's not like, hey, let's just pull 4% out. When we're developing a spending plan for our clients, we really want to know the floor. What is the amount that we have to come in so that the bills get paid? The electricity gets done. We know that we can set aside those 2 weeks a year when we may go travel to see the grandkids for Christmas or whatever. All that's as far as like the normal plan. But then we kind of want the ceiling. All right. So $50,000 a year is the minimum. What could we go up to? 90,000? Yeah, absolutely. So we know now we have a different spending type plan. We know the ranges that we can do this. And Heather, it's different. Instead of restriction, it's permission. It is 100% permission. If the math works, my team will assure you that, hey, we're going to check this. We're going to constantly monitor it. We're going to tweak it. But as long as you stay within that range, you're going to be good. You have permission to spend that money in that year any way you see fit. Now, there's pros and cons to anything. And if all of a sudden the first 2 years you spend not $50,000, you spend $90,000 for the first 2 years. Number one, congratulations. I love it that you do that. That's doing that's front loading retirement, doing all those things, checking the bucket list things, because you are typically the youngest and the healthiest and the more vivacious in the beginning of retirement. That's when we want to check those boxes off. But if we do that, and we spend $90,000 the first 2 years, guess what's going to happen? There will be a phase a couple of years down the road where we can't spend $90,000. Maybe we need to go down to $78,000 or $77,000, whatever it is. But this is the point of a spending plan. It is really having nothing to do with restrictions. It's based on, oh, absolutely, you can spend an extra $50,000 this year if you want, but we can't do that forever. And the way that I want most people to think about it, I want them to have the permissions to do the great stuff in the front end. And no, I don't care. My staff doesn't care. We don't care if you blow it. I would rather you do that on experiences, though, and not on stuff.
Okay.
The thing about experiences, it gives you something to talk about, something to educate your grandkids on, something to talk to your church friends for the rest of your lives, because you never thought you'd be in Peru, but then you went, and you cannot get over how steep the steps of Machu Picchu are. You had no idea.
Talk about front-loading your retirement. Plan that trip in your 60s, not when you're 78, everybody.
Not when you're 80, right? They don't have hover round parking,
yet.
at the steps of Machu Picchu. So you have to do that stuff. But so a spending plan, it's not an option. It is imperative. You have to have a spending plan, because that's your permission. That is to know that you can go to sleep every single night, and with a quality advisor, making certain that we don't make any missteps, because we can't control the markets. No advisor can. We can't control interest rates, can't control what the Fed does, can't control geopolitics, but we can be attentive to the fact that if we make decisions that have a slightly positive or negative impact, how do we adjust? And how do we flow with that? But a spending plan gives you the permission to live life the way you want to, without regrets and without reservations. Okay. So important that everyone has one.
Yeah. Well, John, you and your team at J. Hagan Capital, this is what you're creating for folks every single day. So you watching this YouTube video, listening to this podcast, if you're realizing that what you have is in fact a nest egg, a savings account, but not a true plan that shows you your income monthly and how you will spend that income confidently in retirement, let's get to work helping you understand how to build this out for yourself in the years ahead. RetirementSolutionsShow.com is our website and where you can go to start the conversation with John and his team at J. Hagan Capital. We also have links posted in the show notes. John, I really appreciated that point you just made also a minute ago, talking about working with your team. They're constantly monitoring things, because our income, our spending needs and wants will change in the years ahead. So
absolutely.
The plan has to ebb and flow with us as well.
We absolutely expect them to change. We want them to change. I want my clients to front load retirement, spend more on the front end. I want them to have 100 to 140% of their last working income. Why? Because it's going to set them up for the best opportunities, and know that it will adjust over time once we're tired of traveling, or we've already seen those places, or we don't need to redo the front porch anymore, or we don't need the new nice car. Once we realize that, it changes, and we want our plan to change with us.
Well, understanding how things change and how the plan will flex, and knowing that you've got that plan to flex with you, that's what's going to give you that added confidence that you want, that you deserve in your retirement. John and his team want that for you as well. So let's begin the conversation about your retirement income and spending plan. It's RetirementSolutionsShow.com, or just click on the links we've got posted in the show notes. So I was getting ready to bring this story to you for us to talk about on the radio, and it dawned on me how many things. March is a very active season. We got St. Patrick's Day and basketball tournaments, and Easter's around the corner, and spring. We spring forward with the times. It's very busy time of year. Also, I've got a lot of unbelievable birthdays. A lot of birthdays happening in March. I don't know about that.
My brother's got a March birthday.
Oh yeah, happy birthday.
My kids don't, but my brother does. Yeah.
The Academy Awards happen around this time of year. Whether or not you watch the award shows, I personally like to look at all the pretty dresses before the show, and then once the awards get going, I'm like, okay, I'm out.
Me too. I just love the way
you just love those dresses.
It's such a great look.
Her natural
stepping forward into spring.
She looks amazing.
You do it, girl. Yeah, absolutely.
I need more You Do It Girl from you on the radio each week here, John. Listen, we're going to get to the point of this story here. It's interesting, this little factoid about those Oscar statues. Ooh. Because for those who win them, they are not completely theirs.
Ooh, tell me more.
If you win an Oscar, you can keep it, but you can't sell it. And even if you pass it down, I guess you can will it to an heir. They can't sell it either.
Really?
But wait, there's more. If you break the rules and they catch you selling it, the Academy can take you to court. All right? So you did all the work. You won the award. I'm pretty sure they're very expensive. I think they cost a couple $100 you have to pay to be given the statue to take home. But it's not yours. And it's not unlike, you know where I'm going with this. It's not unlike the hand, the paw that is Uncle Sam on our retirement savings, John, because if you reflect your 401k, your IRA, the IRS, they've got a claim on it. If you pass it on, the IRS gets paid before your kids or grandkids do. In retirement, there are things you cannot sell or move because of liquidity rules. And if you don't follow the rules, there are penalties to pay.
That's the truth.
So how can we gain more control of our savings and have less of it? You know, Uncle Sam, get out of here.
I know. You know, for whatever reason over the years, and I think it's probably because of my dad and his dad, I love history. Yeah. I love finding out where did this start? How did this happen? Where did we get to here? How did this evolve and all that kind of stuff? So hearing the Oscar thing, I thought was interesting because it's like, well, you know, you don't own that little statue, really. You can have it in your house, but like you can't sell it. You can't monetize it. You can't make money on it. And that's perfectly fine. But I was just starting to think where I grew up outside of Owensboro, Kentucky, out there in the middle of all these farming communities, was a whole bunch of farmers. And around us were sharecroppers. So, you know, a lot of people don't even know what sharecroppers were, but these were people that were farmers, but they didn't own land. They just didn't have any of their own land. And so in order to grow crops, they would basically be a sharecropper. They would give a contract to this landowner and say, hey, I'm going to work the fields. I'm going to, you know, plow them. I'm going to plant them. I'm going to put the seeds in. I'm going to fertilize them, water them. And at the end, once we've done all this and I get the harvest, I will pay you, you know, your fair share type of thing. And this is what happened a lot when people weren't landholders. And the crazy thing is when I think about this in the modern day, you know, and I think about what we know now, it's like, wow, how great would it have been if you knew you were going to have a good harvest to go ahead, if in the middle of that season, that sharecropper could go to the landowners, hey, can I just buy this out from you? Can I go ahead and buy this land? I'm using it. My family loves it. We want to keep doing this. Can I just pay a fair share for you now? But then I get to keep all my harvests going forward for the rest of the future. The craziest thing is that what most people do not realize, that sharecropping story where you're not a landowner, it really kind of belongs all to the landowner. That is kind of exactly how our retirement account works. So believe it or not, no matter how much blood, sweat, tears we put in, no matter how hard we plow that soil, no matter how much we make it nutrient dense, no matter how well we plant those seeds and water and cultivate it and take that harvest down there, that silent partner of the IRS, the federal government, they're always going to be that landowner. It's really their land. They allowed us to do that in the first place, right? Just like those landholders. And the thing of it is sharecroppers back where I'm from, they never had the opportunity to buy the land away, especially in the middle of the season. But amazingly enough, with our retirement accounts, Heather, you asked, how do we take more control?
Yes.
Well, imagine if we were in that situation and we were the sharecropper and we had our money in our 401ks and IRAs, and we knew we had to pay that landholder one day. We knew we had to do it. That's the federal government, IRS, when we pull that money out. What if we had an opportunity, though, midway through our season to say, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about this. I think that I can grow this land. I think I can work this land. I think I can do well. I want to buy this land. Do you know that as a IRA holder or a 401k holder, we can do that with the government?
Okay.
We can absolutely do that. We can take crops, our harvest, our money, and we can pay basically taxes earlier, and we can own the harvest on 100% of those assets for the rest of our lives. Imagine back in the day, especially if you're familiar with sharecroppers, imagine how unbelievable it would be to be able to say halfway through, hey, I want to go ahead and pay a fair price for this today, but I want to be the landowner from now on. I want to own it all. I want 100% of my harvest. Guys, that's what a Roth conversion is. A Roth conversion allows us to take money that we otherwise would have to pay the government for forever, as long as we're alive. Whether we wanted to pull that money out, required minimum distributions would pop in and force us to pull it out and pay whatever the government says that our fair share is. And I don't know about you guys out there, But I feel pretty confident that if we keep running these budget deficits, if we keep spending money in the Middle East, if we keep paying, and here's the thing, even if we just keep paying our people that are retired, their Social Security and Medicare, I don't know how tax rates can stay this low for very long.
Right.
If you look historically, we are in much worse shape than we were in the 60s. And during the 1960s, the highest tax rate was in the 90%. The lowest tax rate in the 1960s was 36%, guys. So I just see this as an opportunity. If we're all out there sharecroppers that have our tax deferred accounts, what if we considered, hey, why don't we just knock off paying the landowner anymore? Do it one last time.
Okay.
But never have to pay a landholder again. Let's own our own land and keep all of our own harvest. Guys, that's the idea of Roth conversions. That is how we can take more control right now, no matter what's going on out there. No one could tell us, hey, I know that you've put in all this blood, sweat, and tears and you won this Oscar, Mr. and Miss Actor. But what if we could say, hey, what if I give you a few bucks now and you allow me to sell it and do whatever I want later and you have no claim to it? That would be awesome. So one of the things we need to understand is we're going through this concept of retirement from a tax standpoint. If we can own more of our own harvest, if we can own potentially 100% of it, we are going to be so much better off in the future. And more than that, we have control. We have flexibility. We can choose to do it or not. That's how we take back control in this current environment, Heather.
What about stipulations, though? Because you talk about Roth conversions and those things. We hear things about, oh, you can't have a Roth account. You make too much money. Or you have to be 59 and a half. Or penalties will ensue. What are the boundaries of this?
Yeah. So number one, anyone that has a deferred account can open a Roth. You may not be able to contribute, but you can convert.
Okay.
Which means it doesn't matter if you've never been allowed to open a Roth in the past.
Yeah.
You can open a Roth to do conversions from your IRA, your deferred IRA, to a Roth. Number two, there is no age limit. So as long as you're doing a conversion, you will have to pay taxes in the year that you convert, but you will have no penalty, even if you're under 59 and a half.
Okay.
At any age, you can do a conversion. You're just going to have to pay taxes at whatever tax bracket you're in. So that is also good. Now, there is a golden window, a true period of time between whatever you retire and you turn on Social Security and 73. That is the golden window. That gives the majority of people the opportunity to shift as much as humanly possible, mathematically, to go from tax every day or every year for the rest of your life, which is what a tax deferred account is, because you're just deferring the tax, into a tax-free account. And Roths are not the only ones that are out there. There is certain structured life insurance that you can utilize that does something similar. And there are other things that you can do that are completely tax-free.
Okay.
But it just really depends on your situation, what your CPAs think about things and so forth. But the greatest thing that we can do is to look at, does it make sense to prepay or to buy the land for the rest of your harvest for the rest of your life?
And 73, because that's the year that RMDs, that's when you turn 73, your required minimum distributions on your non-tax accounts. That's when those rules start to kick in.
Correct. But because after 73, the government's going to force you to take money out. If they force you to take it out, you can't convert that money. You can convert other money, but you still have to take that money out. And so often it's kind of, it's too much. If you pull too much, it's too much tax. So the greatest thing to do is to dismantle the tax time bomb.
Start ahead.
Before you get anywhere near 73. I mean, for most of our clients that have saved millions, and we do this with clients that have saved millions and tens of millions of dollars, we still do Roth conversions. And the reason for it is because we know that we can lock in a better tax environment. We know we can. But the big piece of the puzzle is we get the choice. Are we going to do it this year? No, because we did something else. That's fine. What about next year? We're going to keep doing it. And there will be a finite period of time before they stop us from doing it. Just mark my words. There is government precedent that they will take this away at some point in time. We don't know when. We don't know who's going to do it. But take advantage while we can. It may be the last time that we can control our taxes this well.
There's lots of things we don't know what will happen on, but there are also lots of things happening right now we do know we can control. And when it comes to having more of your harvest, keeping more of that for yourself and out of Uncle Sam's hands, this is what Jon and his team are here to show you, the how-tos that work specifically for you and your goals. So let's start the conversation. Give us a call, 502 502-317-0840 is the number to dial right now. 502-317-0840. It starts with an initial conversation with one of our advisors. No fee, no obligation, by the way, this initial step in the planning process. Just a conversation where you can ask some questions about what tax opportunities you might have and other questions that you have when it comes to your overall retirement plan. And then our advisor will explain to you how John and his team might be able to help. 502-317-0840. If you're 5 to 10 years from retirement and have saved at least $500,000, that's where you're really going to see the benefits of this kind of planning take effect. And John and his team want to show you what they can do for you. So let's begin that conversation. Give us a call. You can also go to retirementsolutionradio.com or it's 502-317-0840. All right, so we're going to start. We're going to point some fingers at our parents here on the radio today. Now, you and your wife, Tennille, you've got two beautiful girls. And
luckily, they look like mama.
Stop.
True.
Now, your oldest daughter is hitting the roadways, everybody. She's got the keys. You hear that jingle jangle? The driver's license.
I got the text literally this week that she passed. So it's one of those situations where so she's had her driving permit for a while. So I've been that dad in the front seat, freaked out, white knuckle death grip on the dash and the door handle. Yeah. And then I realized, man, I have to show her that she needs to be confident. So the day before her test, I didn't say a single word. I didn't get ready for a turn, nothing. And do you know, Heather, she did perfectly great. She did absolutely great. It was unbelievable.
I love it. I love it.
We got another 16-year-old girl out there on the streets.
Good luck,
so
everybody.
Everyone be careful. Make sure your insurance is paid up. The Lord knows I have.
Whatever.
Make sure mine's paid up.
Your kids are smart. You're raising your kids right. You guys got some good ones there. Meanwhile, whatever you do, just remind her not to drive around with the dome light on in her car at night because according to at least what our parents taught us, she's going to get pulled over. It's illegal. She's going to get a ticket. All right. Now, for those of you 80s babies, you Gen Xers, you know exactly what we're talking about, as does Mal Hall. He's a stand-up comedian. He's been doing comedy for 20 years. Listen to his recollection of the memory that still to this day haunts him.
When you guys were kids, did your parents tell you that it was illegal to use the dome light in the car at night? How did these veteran parents get that one around the country? Pre-internet. Did they all just call a parent, hey, tell 10 other parents that fly? Here's the crazy thing about that one. So I'm 40 years old. If you're in my car tonight after the show and we need to find something, that light is on and then off immediately.
Truth.
Because as a 40-year-old man, I'm still not sure if that's true or not, and I don't want to test it.
How did that old wives' tale get circulated in the 80s?
Hold on, is that a wives' tale? Is that not true?
I don't think it is true. I haven't looked it up.
I remember my saying, hey, listen, your dad could get in serious trouble. I mean, he could get a ticket. This is going to be a real deal. When we were in the back seat, of a 1979 Ford Thunderbird going down to South Carolina for summer break. I remember that. Dome light.
It's rarely,
I don't allow it in my car.
According to the quick Google, it's rarely illegal to drive with the interior lights on. The belief is largely an urban legend. There it is.
Urban legend.
There it is. Kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
Well, that's the thing about that. You never know what are real myths, what are urban legends, what used to be. And here's the crazy thing. A lot of myths, they actually used to be true. They held true until they didn't. And so they've just stayed on as myths. But, that happens all the time.
Well, it does happen all the time. Something like a dome light, that myth. Like, who is that really hurting? Nobody.
Yeah,
nobody.
No one.
When it comes to money myths that we believe, that's where we can really get tripped up. So what are myths that you see people buying into, and what truths can we expose here today on the radio?
Yeah, so here's some of the things that I hear a lot. And one of the things that I want to kind of state, I can't find who said this, but one of the most interesting things I read over the years, the most dangerous financial advice is the advice that used to be right, because it arrives with the confidence of experience and the authority of someone you trust, and it points you directly at a road that no longer exists. Think about that for a second. Because when I took this into context, I was like, man, I remember, because we were talking about being in that 1979 Ford Thunderbird, And I remember being in the back seat, and my parents had this triptych, right?
Yeah.
They would go to AAA, and they would get that roadmap thing. But before that, my dad always had the Rand McNally Road Atlas in his car. Now, here's the craziest thing, and this is what made me start thinking about history. Do you know, Heather, that before 1952, if you had one of those road atlases, before 1952, there was not a federal interstate highway system. So if you were using 52, that wasn't even that long ago.
No.
There weren't interstates. So if you had one of those Rand McNally road atlases, it would have taken you directly into the heart of that city to then branch off a couple different ways. If you did it today and had one of those, you would not have a single interstate. You would be looking for exits that didn't exist. All those types of things, all because it used to be true, but then it's no longer true. It's obsolete.
Right.
So that's what made me think about that. How many things do we do because we've heard about it, or it's been around for a long time? It might be myth, it might be urban legend, or it may just be wrong now.
Yeah.
So there was a few that I hear all the time. Number one, Social Security. So I have heard so many people say, John, I'm going to take my Social Security the minute that I'm able to, buddy, because it may not be there. And I was thinking about that. And I remember people telling me about that when I was young too. And the craziest thing is it was actually rooted in truth. Believe it or not, Heather, in 1982, Congress actually sent a letter to, I think the Congressional Budget Office sent a letter to say, hey, unless we do something, no joke, we will run out of money in 2 months. This really happened in 1982 because what happened is that in the 60s and 70s, they expanded the program a lot. Social Security started giving cost of living adjustments and things like that. So what happened was that they gave a cost of living adjustment, but then they also gave a wage increase supplement, and it was basically like double dipping. So all of a sudden, when they thought that they had years and years and years of funds available because they were double dipping because of inflation and cost of living adjustments, then all of a sudden it started sucking out all this money, and they were literally months from going under. What happened? Government made a emergency change, and they elongated the system and changed everything. But 1982, the reason everyone said, hey, take your Social Security, other it may not be there, it was rooted in a truth. Imagine how different life would be had Congress not acted, and then people did not get the amount of money they thought.
Right.
That would have created an unbelievable shock through the system. There would be no confidence in the government. And then you have to wonder, would we have even still had a republic up until now?
Right.
You got to wonder, seriously. But so all of that root was originally from the 1980s. Now, here's what I would say about taking Social Security early. It depends. It really depends on if you want more money in the earlier part of your retirement when you're youngest, healthiest, most able to use it, or do you want to have that money towards the end just to be certain that you have a higher check or a higher amount of money come in your account later on? Now, here's a caveat, or if you have a spouse that's significantly older or younger. That could also create a major difference. You don't want to take a really small check for a surviving spouse going forward. And there's all kinds of ways that you can game the system to try to get slight advantages based on what you want to do in your age situation. But that's a myth that is easily fixable. It's not about taking it early. It's like take it when you need it, but make the other decisions around that to make the biggest difference. All right. Another one that I've heard before is, I hear all these statistics about healthcare. My guess, and it's about $100,000 and I'm going to have to pay for, out-of-pocket healthcare in retirement. I don't remember where that one first came from, but it was 1993. I don't remember who said it, but in 1993, there was a study that was done that suggested that healthcare would cost an individual up to $100,000 over the course of their lifetime. Now, amazingly enough, we have very new research. We can bust this myth. Fidelity did a research study last year in 2025 that estimated that an individual would potentially spend $172,000 on out-of-pocket healthcare costs in retirement. $172,000 for an individual. So a couple, we're talking over $100,000 or $350,000. Guys, this is out of pocket. This is after, Medicare has done their job and everything else. And these are current studies. This isn't old. So I'm going to bust the myth. It's not $100,000. It unfortunately could be 3 to 4 times that, depending on your health. Now, should this scare us? Absolutely not. Should this force us to go run out and buy long-term care insurance? Absolutely not. But what we have to do is figure out where in our portfolio do we need to do a little massaging to come up with a low tax way to pay for in-home care or to pay for healthcare costs and not derail the rest of our income that we need to live off of. Okay. So important. That is part of a proper retirement plan anyway.
Okay.
The 5 pillars, healthcare is absolutely one of them. You have to plan for it. So don't put $100,000 in your plan. It's over $300,000 for a couple. So last one I'm going to talk about today is the 4% rule.
Okay.
So back in the day, and I know where this one came from, a guy named Bill Bengen. I think it was 93 or 94. Bill Bengen came up, and he was a financial planner, just like I do, just like all kinds of people do. And he basically came up and said, I've done the math, and if people pull 4% a year, they'll be fine. And based on 1994, he had about 20 years worth of work where that would have been fine. He also had interest rates in 1994 that were really, really, really good for safe investments. Now, what we have found now is the 4% rule is a complete myth. It does not work the way that was originally intended, and not because Bengen got it wrong. And he's actually come out later over the years and said, whoa, hey, my math was based on the data that I had.
Right.
New data is very different. 4% is no longer a comfortable withdrawal rate. He even did it, but people still talk about it. I see advertisements for it on television for take your pick big box firm. They talk about 4%. Guys, it is a myth. So when we're thinking about our spending plan, the reason we can't use 4% anymore is because treasuries pay completely different than they used to. The market has been in an extended state of good times, but that typically will mean we may have an extended state of less good times, and we may not be able to rely on the market to provide that. The third thing, pensions used to be a big part of how Americans retired, and now they are not. Is going to put a much bigger stress point on the markets, and 4% may prove to be just too much stress on a portfolio, especially with a downturn. So those are the 3 myths that we really want to understand. So to go back and recap super quick, Social Security, it's probably not going to run out if you're really close to retirement. Just understand, should you take it earlier or later should be based on your math and your taxes. Number 2, healthcare costs, probably more expensive than we think. Don't freak out about it. Just get a plan to fix it. That's all there is to it. And then the last one, 4% rule. If your advisor or if you've been using a 4% rule, please use the new math. That myth may have been accurate at one point, but it is no longer accurate. Get a new plan and look at the math behind the new things. Make sure you understand it. But if you do that, you will be much better equipped to handle whatever is going to be thrown at us next. And my guess is it's not going to repeat exactly what we've seen in the past.
Let's begin the conversation helping you understand about your plan, your money, your future. It's retirementsolutionshow.com, or just click on the links we've got posted in the show notes.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with Jon Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to Jon's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through J. Hagan Capital, LLC, NPN number 188279094.